It's October 4th, 2020. It's been sort of rainy and cloudy here in Seattle. Let's start the update over here with the succulents. You can see they're all doing well, and this little guy is growing very nicely. The string of pearls is sending out a bunch of new growths. You can see all over the plants there's a bit more greener parts. Those are the new growths. Here's the elephant food plant. Looks great. The Frisosiso is dying back slowly. And here's the petal plant. Looks fine too. And here we have the raspberry. It has stopped flowering, I think. And now it's just mostly finishing up forming this last batch of fruits. This specific one looks good, but the other one doesn't look too good. But in general, I think the plant is dying back. And over here we have the catnip. As you can see, after I pruned them, it's sending out a bunch of new growths like this. But there's no flower anymore, because it's not the season. And over here is the hydrangea that I moved. And the peony, still dying back. The lavender is looking great. You can see all the new growths are getting back now. Still sending out some new flowers. But yeah, the whole plant looks very healthy. I'm very happy with the plant. You can see still more new growths coming out. The rosemary, actually it has started flowering. You can see over here, those little white spots, those are the flower buds. And over here you can see some flowers that have already opened. Like these ones over here. So I guess the flowering season for rosemary is like around fall-ish. Here's the other rosemary. Seems like it's just growing without flowers. And this green onion is actively sending out a bunch of new leaves. Down here is the grape hyacinth. You can see the sprouts are definitely getting taller. I should take this out pretty soon. And the mulberry looks about the same as last week. The leaves are definitely smaller than during the summer. The lily of the valley is definitely dying back, as you can see. The blueberry, you can see the leaves are turning red for sure, and it has started dropping some leaves. Over here is the calla lily. It's still slowly dying back. And the strawberries doesn't look too different, but if you look underneath, you can see a bunch of dried up strawberry leaves. And here you can even see some dried up runners right here. So I think the strawberry is dying back also. And here we have the newly planted rosemary. Looks a little dehydrated, so it's probably not rooting as well in the soil. And here we have the dahlia. You can see it's still flowering. I'll show you the flower buds. Here's one of the newer flowers. It's a bit smaller than the ones earlier in the season. And right here is another new flower that's going to open soon. Here's the asparagus. You can see the leaves are all still green. Not dying back yet. And a day afterwards, when I was watering the plants, I found this new growth. So it's actually still growing, and they're not slowing down yet. And here's another new growth, if you look closely. That's the purple variety. Here's the pot of mixed plants. Let's take a closer look at the crimson clover. Looks like the plant is still getting bigger. However, it doesn't seem like it's going to flower anytime soon. So we're probably not going to get any flower this year from this one. Planted a little too late. As for the tomato, still a lot of new growth. That little flower bunch I showed you last week, it's probably this one over here. a little slower than usual. Here's the ginger, still sending out new leaves, as you can see. This one too. As for the hydrangea, just a bunch of new growths that's slowly growing. Probably not going to grow much anymore. The shooting star variety is looking great still. You can see a bunch more new growths closer to the base of the plants. Right here, you can see those two new plants growing. And let's take a look at the flowers. You can see the unopened flowers are going to open soon. They're looking a bit pink. Here's the grape, still slowly dying back, I think. Here's the rhubarb. And the mints. I think the mints are actually growing leaves again. You can see at the center of this shoot, there's some new growth. That kind of looks like flowers, but I'm not too sure. But it's definitely doing something. The whole plant is sending out some sort of new growth. As for the pineapple, the growth is definitely slowing down. There's still new leaves in the center, but I can tell the growth is definitely slowing down. For the indoor garden, you can see the mini dendrobium is still sending out new plants or new shoots. And that flower that I showed you last week is looking a bit damaged at the bottom. I'm not too sure what happened. Maybe some insect got to it. Hopefully it will open. Here's another mini dendrobium. Not seeing any new growth at the base of the plant. And over here's the lady slipper orchid. Let's look at the flower. You can see this flower is slowly opening. It's probably going to open next week. But yeah, it's looking great. Here's the other lady slipper orchid. I'm not seeing any new growth. Down here's the mini oncidium. You can see the flower spikes are now branching. At least these two are. And this one, you can see the flower buds are getting bigger, so they're going to open soon. And here's the spent flowers. Here's the other orchids. Yeah, nothing too much with them. And that orchid I tried to save last week doesn't look like it's gonna survive. The leaf is turning yellow and probably gonna die. Phalaenopsis looks about the same. Over here's the Easter cactus. You can see the new leaves are getting bigger. Here's the philodendron. Here's the prayer plant. Looks like it's sending out a bunch of new leaves. These new leaves are actually pretty big. Very impressive. The hoya plant's new growth is getting longer, as you can see. Here's another new growth. And I think at the end of one of these vines, there's also new growth right here. So the hoya plant is actively growing now. And the Stockholm fern, you can see that new antler frond growing. The spider plant is flowering. Right here you can see a single flower that has opened. And one of its baby plants is also flowering. Right here you can see this baby plant sent out a flower spike with this opened flower. Sort of like a baby of the spider plant.